Hello, good evening, and welcome to our live Monday night special from Courtroom Confidential, the fastest growing true crime news channel on YouTube. Wow, 7 minutes late. Can you believe it? So sorry about that. I have a very good excuse though. We literally were getting some new information on some of the cases that we're about to talk to you about tonight minutes ago. And so we were frantically working. It wasn't as though I was putting the final touches on powdering my nose or something like that. We were actually getting it all together within minutes ago. So it, just one of those things when you're covering this stuff and you happen to get information late, you kind of have to throw it together late. So I didn't want to come on here and tell you guys stuff that wasn't exactly up to the minute. And this is literally up to the minute. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for being so forgiving and patient with us as we got started a couple minutes late. We're going to do something a little bit different tonight. We don't have a guest, but that's not going to stop us because there is some cases that I know you all have been very curious about, some ongoing investigations. Usually on this channel, I try to stay in my lane. And my lane is kind of the legal world and the criminal prosecution of cases and defensive cases. And when it's still kind of in the investigatory phase, I leave that up to people who are police officers and everything else. But there are some cases that I know are so fascinating that people want to know about them as they're still being investigated before all the arrests have been made. And we're going to talk about one of those cases tonight. So we're going to talk about some cases you've been interested in that are kind of still in the news and very topical. And then we'll talk about things to expect for the rest of the week with cases that we've been following. So my name is, of course, Joshua Ritter. I'm my former prosecutor with the LA District Attorney's Office. I was there for 10 years before leaving and going into private practice. I'm a criminal defense attorney now. This is Courtroom Confidential, where we try our best to give you both sides of the courtroom, and we hope that we do that. So hello to everybody who's in the chat. I see all the usual faces. Farm Girl, thank you so much for gifting the membership and kicking us off this evening. Maureen from Monterey. Above Ground for becoming a member and for staying above ground. Oh, it's a reference to your pool. I get it now. To Bess Nancy and Tracy Morrissey and Jesse Tomato or Tomato. You pick. And a lot of new faces. So I'm glad I introduced myself and thank you everyone and welcome for being here. Zarkasm, I see you as well. Already making guesses, Zarkasm, on the shirt color, or you're just saying you're getting the shirt and you're getting it in several different colors. I get it. Thank you very much. We'll talk more about that later too. So stick around to the end because we do have some announcements, including this. And I'm probably going to get in trouble for just even saying this. We have something in the works. Oh, I hate to be a tease. I'm going to be a tease though. We have something in the works. I'm very excited about it. I'm not going to share any details other than to say, I hope that you will join us next Monday at the same time, same place. I think you won't be disappointed. Is that awful for me to do? Is that awful for me to only give you that much information? Maybe it's awful, but I'm going to go ahead and be awful and just say things are going to hopefully break this week. Subi Sue says I'm being a tease. I know I'm being a tease, but I also don't want you to make plans on your Monday night. I will say things are going to probably break this week and we will give you some of that, the newest information that we can give you, but I can't do it till Monday. And I've been sworn to secrecy. If it were just me, I'm a blabbermouth and I would tell you, but it's next week. Yes, that's what it is. I'm calling you back. Finally, you asked me to, so I'm calling you back, JC Broadway. All right. Thank you for everybody watching us here. Thank you for everybody who's watching us on X and on Facebook. If you're on those, please say hi. Would love to hear from you guys out there as well. Don't want to ignore you. And before we get started, as always, please hit the like button if you haven't already. Let's let the algorithm know that we're here. Subscribe if you haven't already. We would love to have you join the family and share this with anybody who you think might enjoy it. All right. A lot of cases to cover, but not a lot to talk about every single one of them because I'm not going to take a bunch of time doing it. But I do want to get into a couple of cases more thoroughly. And the first is, of course, the Austin Drummond case. This is currently this is about as topical as we're ever going to get on this channel. This case is currently in, what do you want to call it, fugitive warrant status. There's a manhunt out for Austin Drummond. Austin Drummond is a 28-year-old man from Dyer County, Tennessee, and he is currently being sought there's charges filed against him. He's being charged with the murder of these four beautiful people. James Matthew Wilson, who's 21 years old, Adriana Williams, who's 20, Courtney Rose, who's 38, and Braden Williams, who is 15. What do all these people have to do with each other? This is how this story started out. They all happen to be related to a 7-month-old baby girl, an infant, who was found abandoned on a random person's front yard. James Matthew, and Adriana are the mother and father of this child. Courtney Rose is the grandmother, and Braden is the uncle of this child, who was, like I said, found abandoned at a random person's yard. The story goes that, according to law enforcement, one of the newest things Alicia K. Mayo says that's literally in your neck of the woods. Well, stay safe, because they still haven't apprehended this man, who's incredibly violent. According to police, now they are saying the words "they" dropped the child off. So it's believed that Austin Drummond, along with someone else who is still unidentified, if that was even male or female, there he is right there, brought the child in a car seat, dropped it off on a random person's front yard, and then the police went to the point of saying that they brought attention to the child before leaving. And police wanted to make that point because they feel that shows at least some level of humanity when it comes to Austin Drummond. And why are you saying, do police even care to highlight that? I think they are hoping that sliver of humanity may be a way to appeal to him to turn himself in. That if he does have some human quality in him, maybe they can appeal to him. So, what do we know about Austin Drummond? And then what do we know about recent developments that have taken place in the case? And arrests have been made, but like I said, Austin is still a fugitive. So, one, we know he has a very violent criminal history. He was arrested in 2013 and charged and convicted for armed robbery, given 13 years in prison. He was 16 years old at the time. 16-year-old man with a gun going in and robbing someone at gunpoint. After the trial, he made threats against the jurors, which got him additional time in prison. He was charged and convicted for 13 counts of retaliation for past action in 2015 because of that. Then, while in prison, he attempted to murder someone in prison. For whatever reason, he was still released from prison and able to post bond, and he was out on bond for those charges of the attempt murder while in prison when he committed this crime. If you can follow that. In other words, I don't know why he wasn't just arraigned immediately and held for additional time in prison for committing the crime in prison. But for whatever reason, he was somehow got out of prison with those pending charges, posted bail, while out on bail, commits this crime. Allegedly, we should say. He's also allegedly a member of the Vice Lords criminal street gang. So that's who this person is. Extremely dangerous. And that's why I say, AKM, watch out. What has happened recently is we know that though no motive has been revealed yet, all of the members of this family are family members of who is believed to be Drummond's current girlfriend, who we don't have a name for, or at least I haven't found it. So for whatever reason, they believe that somehow his association with these four people through his current girlfriend caused him to murder this entire family, then take the baby and just drop the baby off at some random location. And that's why they're saying perhaps there's some way to appeal to this psychopath, because at least he didn't murder the baby or leave the baby there. Recently, they found 2 of his abandoned vehicles, a 2016 Audi that it appeared he had been living out of, was one of the vehicles that they believe, I believe the vehicle that was described as the vehicle being used to make the drop off was not an Audi, but for some reason he's associated with this Audi. That was abandoned, and it looked like he might have been living out of it. Then he was also associated with the 1988 white Ford pickup with a red stripe. Oh, Kaylin, you just made my day. Kaylin, the fact that you have that picture just made my day. As I was going through all of this and preparing, I'm like, God, I hope I remember to tell Kaylin about this photograph. You don't got to tell Kaylin anything. She knows. She reads my mind. So yes, this is the pardon me for that, guys. This is the Ford that they had been looking for. Well, if you're looking for that Ford still, you're too late, because they found that abandoned as well. Okay. So now they're still looking for him. He's abandoned 2 vehicles. He's desperate. And the latest that we're being told by law enforcement, the U.S. Marshals who are involved in this manhunt as well, is they believe, this is a quote, "It is believed that Austin Drummond possibly fled the state of Tennessee." What I love about that statement is how it doesn't really tell us anything. What is possibly and what is believed? Just tell us yes or no. He's still in that state, or he's not, or where should we be looking for him? Or if you have no idea, then tell us that too. Anyhow, there has been advancement in this case, though, and it's remarkable in the sense that they have now arrested 4 people. I thought it was 3 until moments ago. We now know that they're arrested 4 people for accessory after the fact. Those people's names are Tanaka Brown, age 29, Javante Thomas, age 29, both arrested for accessory after the fact. They both are believed, according to police, to have, quote unquote, assisted Drummond after the fact, though. That's what they're being charged with. Otherwise, they'd be charged with conspiracy to commit murder. So I'm believing that this could have been an individual who supplied him with the truck. This could have been an individual who helped hide him for a day or so. This all happened over a week ago. So those 2 people were arrested. And then today, Diara Sanders was the 3rd arrest in this case, also charged with accessory after the fact. And then most recently, a person by the name of Brandon Powell. It's being reported by ABC, but still unconfirmed, even by ABC. That's how recent this information is, whether or not he is in fact connected to the murders, but it's being reported as somebody charged with criminal conspiracy, and it's being reported that it's somehow in connection to these murders. So, like I said, still a lot going on, still a lot of breaking news. And today also, maybe Alicia K. Mayo is familiar with this area, but the area of Union University and the West Jackson Baptist Church were being searched. Apparently, there was a lot of police activity out there, drones in the air, a lot of people still looking for this person. So it's a remarkable case in how violent it is. The other thing that we're learning too is that they are believed to have died from gunshot wounds, which even earlier on, it wasn't even being reported what they had died of. So you think about this, you've got a person with a violent past who commits an incredibly violent act in killing 4 people. And I can't imagine these 4 people gave him any kind of a good reason, right? We're not talking about drug deals gone bad, gang activity, rival gangs killing each other. These are 4 people that all we know about them so far is that they happen to be related to his current girlfriend. So whatever kind of family domestic dispute takes place and he just murders 4 people in cold blood and then takes the baby. By the way, probably the only reason that baby survived is not so much because he's got a soft spot in his heart, but because he realized the baby can't testify against him. Everybody who was a witness to whichever shooting took place first also ended up dead there. That is going to be the way I call this. So like I said, Still continuing to break, still continuing to be something we will cover. Let me see if we have any questions. Oh, Pentufel, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Says, are the accessories after the fact members of the same gang as the suspect? We don't know. I mean, that's how early this is, and that's how kind of information is being held tightly. But I read a bunch of reports on this today, and nothing that I saw even indicated what involvement they had or what connection they had to Drummond, or to if they even had any connection to the victims at all. Justice Jane says, rest in peace, justice for the victims. 15-year-old Braden Williams, 20-year-old Adriana Williams, 21-year-old James M. Wilson, and 38-year-old Courtney Rose. Yes, agreed with that. Michelle says, we're all four at the same location when they were unalived. Again, good question. I would go with the assumption that they were. The way that this happened is that they actually located the baby girl, was the first call that police got. And then it was later that they got a call to and discovered these four bodies. Now, it's unclear if somehow information or evidence recovered when they found the baby led them to search this home, but the home was some distance away. The bodies weren't discovered until an hour or two later, but all the reports make it sound like they were at the same location. So great question, Michelle. Michelle, pardon me. Northwest says, where is the girlfriend? Where is the girlfriend? And also, why isn't the girlfriend being named at this point? Either she's not an adult, which would make sense, or they don't know her name, which doesn't make any sense. I feel like at this point, with the amount of reporting that's been done, they would know the name of that girlfriend. But for some reason, they're not naming her, and they're also not listing her as a suspect, and they're also not describing her in their descriptions of what to be on the lookout for. You know, if they're doing a BOLO and they're saying, look for this vehicle, you would think also look for this person described as a white male, 5'10", 120 pounds, whatever he is, and a female companion. And I haven't seen that yet as well. So I don't know her involvement. If she's still with him, if she's cooperating with police is another possibility. She's cooperating with the police and being helpful to them, and therefore doesn't want her identity revealed. I don't know. Great question, though, everybody. Like I said, when it comes to these ones that are still happening, I have less answers for you. Ashley Floyd says, just curious, can this be a death penalty case? Absolutely, it can. Multiple murder, that earns you a ticket. And in the state of Tennessee, I imagine they will pursue something like that. And then, do we know the motive of why this happened, Zach? No, we don't. What we're being told is that police are still don't have a reason for it, but it's starting to come together that, to me at least, it has something to do with some sort of domestic issue. Like I said, it doesn't appear to be gang related. It doesn't appear to be random. It also doesn't appear to be over, drugs or something like that, but I don't know. We will continue to watch and try to find out for you. Okay. Let's move on to our next one here. Except I feel like we still have some people that I failed to thank. If we have those, let's go ahead and throw those up. Northwest says kidnapping charges too. I'm sure that'll be thrown in at the end of the day. And the kidnapping could also be part of why he earns himself the death penalty in this case. All right. Let's move on to the next case I wanted to talk to you guys about. And that is the Andrew James McGann case. This is, he is the name of the suspect, but of course the people who were concerned with are a married couple named Clinton and Kristen Brink. He was 43. She was 41 years old. You guys may have been following this case. This was out of sorry, guys. This was out of Arkansas, the Devil's Den State Park. And if you've been watching the news and you've heard people talking about Devil's Den, this is what they're talking about. A really, really horrific case. This happened on July 26th, like I said, out of Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas. Both Kristen and her husband, Clinton, were stabbed to death. And if that's not horrible and shocking enough, they were also with their 7- and 9-year-old daughters at the time, who did survive and who were unharmed. And the story goes that at least what we're starting to hear from police is it looks like mother and father were attacked. It doesn't appear, and no one's at least saying that the daughters were the alleged targets of that attack, but I don't know. There's also some reporting coming out that make people suspicious. But the mother apparently ran the girls to safety before returning to help her husband, who had fought off the Andrew McGann, who was fighting him currently. There he is. He just looks like he's lost his mind. So if you can play this scenario out in your head, they get stopped on this abandoned, kind of lonely trail. They're attacked in some way. Father starts to intervene like an absolute hero. Mother either is stabbed at that time or runs off with the children and then returns to help father and maybe gets stabbed at that time. But in any way that it ended up, and maybe they're never going to be able to figure this out, both mother and father die from stab wounds, and both children survive. Here's the newest things that we've learned. The victim, oh, good to see surviving the survivor. Thank you so much for that gift. Hello to Joel and Ileana. Appreciate you guys. He was injured. McGann was injured and he suffered blood loss, according to reports, which means that they have DNA. And it also means that they've confirmed that DNA. But all of that is not going to become all that important, because the latest thing that happened just a day or so ago is that he confessed to these killings. Still no motive yet, but he did confess to the killings. The other thing we now know is that the girls apparently gave a description to police. 7 and 9 years old. That is very young, but it's also not so young that they can't give a description and say what happened and accurately tell police how this all went down. Why is all of that important when you're dealing with a confession? Well, before I get into his history, I will tell you that the also recent thing we have heard is that the state of Arkansas, the prosecutors in that state, say that they intend to pursue the death penalty. So we all know what that means. That means we're likely getting a trial out of this. And as much evidence as they have, it means they're going to still have to prove this to a jury. And that may include putting that 7 and 9-year-old on the stand. And who knows how old they'll be at that time. But I can't imagine the trauma that these beautiful little girls have had to live through after seeing what happened to their parents. And now they're living a life without their parents. And then to have to get up and testify. Again, this is speculation, me really putting the cart before the horse, but that is something that I'm thinking about and imagining, a year or two down the line. There was also a third child who is not on the hike who's also survived. So they've left behind 3 beautiful children, these heroes of parents. What do we know about McGann? Well, we know he was arrested July 30th in Springdale, Arkansas, which is about 35 miles north. So he took off somehow. He was arrested at a barber shop. There he is, going to get his hair cut. We know that he was at one point a fourth grade teacher in Texas and a 5th grade teacher in Oklahoma. In Texas, he was put on administrative leave for what they described as poor classroom management and professional judgment. But none of it was what they describe as inappropriate behavior towards children. Now, recently, the New York Post has interviewed some people who knew him, who have described what at very best can say bizarre or perhaps, worst, selectively bizarre behavior towards young girls. And that is what may have related to this inappropriate, classroom management, which they called favoritism, which caused him to be on administrative leave. He eventually resigned in 2023. What am I doing? I am not trying to sensationalize this. I am not trying to make more of this than what it is. It could be absolutely random. It could be that this had nothing to do with the girls. But there is, at least as we're all trying to figure out a motive for this and why this took place, there is at least some evidence that this school teacher, not exactly a person I would put on a list of people that you have to watch out for, but this school teacher did kind of make his way from school district to school district. So he goes from Oklahoma to Texas. Now he's in Arkansas. Strange kind of behavior for a person who's only, 28 years old, not sticking around in any district for all that long, being on administrative leave, this description of bizarre behavior. Who knows? I will say, I feel like a story emerging from all of this is also the story of why wasn't he more red flagged and identified as problematic by these prior school districts. I think that is going to be an emerging story of all of this. He doesn't appear to have an arrest record that we've heard about. I doubt that he would pass the background check to get these jobs to begin with if he had an arrest record. But what are these school districts? What is this? I guess the story I feel like is developing is the idea of these problematic teachers who can just kind of hop from one district to the next. As long as it sounds like in his case, he's at least crossing state lines, maybe there's not all that much communication between school districts, and a problematic teacher can find himself safe haven in another state. I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to sensationalize. I'm not trying to make more of this horrific story than needs to be made. It's already horrific. But this is something that I feel like is kind of emerging. What we do know is that what police are saying is that this is completely random. It doesn't appear as though he had any connection to this married couple. It doesn't appear as though he was robbing them, targeting them for any kind of reason. It just appears as though he had a knife, had a reason, decided to stab them, and did appear to be trying to evade capture. One last thing that is interesting to me on this. If it is so random, one, the location of where this took place, this does not, to me, there's indications at least of wanting to find a secluded area to commit a crime like this. In other words, this wasn't violence committed out on an open street, which may indicate some sort of mental collapse, some mental crisis, some true randomness, stabbing somebody in broad daylight on a street. But the fact that this is on some remote kind of hiking trail is the way it's being described, shows a little bit of, I guess, what you could call premeditation. And then the other thing that I read today that really stuck with me is the idea that there was a witness who saw his vehicle, and there was originally, when they were looking for him, they had a suspect vehicle, but they did not have a license plate because he had apparently taped over his license plate. Give me an innocent reason for why somebody would do that. Give me a reason for why somebody would do that in advance of committing a crime like this, and tell me that doesn't indicate some sort of premeditation. So, as random as this is, it does look like he may have put some thought and planning into it. He brought a knife with him. That's the other thing you could point towards. Not a lot of people. I mean, yes, people walk around with knives sometimes, especially if they're going hiking. But not a lot of people walk around with knives who've also taped over their license plates and are, sounds like, looking to kill a random married couple. So I don't know. We'll see. Again, at least this story ends with him being captured. He's now confessed. They have DNA. They have eyewitnesses. It looks like it will be a case they pursue the death penalty, and they will likely have a trial on this. Fala, thank you so much for the gift of memberships. Appreciate you guys so much when you do that. Jay Mofo for gifting a membership. Love welcoming everybody into the Courtroom Confidential crew, and to Michaela Compton Music. Did I say that right? I probably didn't say that right. Michaela. Nope. I'm getting constant nopes. How would you say it? Michaela. Oh, whatever. I did it wrong, but I'm very thankful anyways for you becoming Michaela. Michaela. Oh, pardon me, Tisu says. Michaela. Michaela Compton Music. Thank you so much for becoming a member. And forgive me for butchering your name. Carolyn Keel, and thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate all the love, guys. Margaret Lines becomes a member. Angela becomes a member. I love this. All right, that's it. You guys are fantastic. Always appreciate the love and the growing Courtroom Confidential community. All right. Let's go to what to look for this coming up this week, and then I'll get you guys out of here. So those were the two big cases I wanted to cover, but let's talk about what's coming up this week. First of all, Christina Formella. If you guys have been following this case, this was the case out of Downers Grove, Illinois. I think Sonia had asked us to look into this case, and we are following it. She was originally charged with 2 counts of aggravated SA and 1 count of that against a minor. So this is one of those kind of teachers, special ed teacher, soccer coach, gets involved with a romantic, that's not the right way to put it, a sexual relationship with a minor. He was 14 years old, it looks like, when this began. He was 15 years old at the time of her arrest. The most recent thing that occurred, though, is that she was charged with 52 additional charges. They believe in total there were 45 separate occasions that she had sex with this minor. That is her walking into court. And that person next to her, my understanding, is her husband. And so that man has been standing by her as this is all coming to light, that she was having a long-term sexual affair with a minor. And then we find out the way that this was all discovered. Well, it turns out the mother of the young man found text messages on his phone that include such hits as, this is going to turn your stomach, a text from her, quote unquote, "I love having sex with you." This is a 30-year-old woman sending this text to a 15-year-old boy. She apparently had tried to tell police that that was something he had put on her phone, that he had grabbed her phone, stole it at school, and texted that to himself in an attempt to blackmail her. But that was all kind of fell apart when they found further information on her phone, including what appears to be a very detailed diary of their sexual encounters that she kept on her phone. Her next court date is going to be August 4th. Also coming up this week, August 4th is today. So she was apparently in court today. But I don't have any news on it. I looked it up right before we began. Also in court this week is Steve Lawson. He was one of the people convicted in connection to the disappearance and now murder of Crystal Rogers. He was actually the first person convicted. He is the father of Joseph Lawson, who was recently just convicted along with Brooks Houck that we talked about quite a bit back last month. He was convicted back in May, also for conspiracy to commit murder. The jury recommended 17 years for him. He will be back in court on Wednesday for sentencing. And it looks like in that jurisdiction, the jury decides or recommends a sentence to the judge, and then the judge finally actually makes the sentence, whether the judge will give him 17 years or not. I don't know what factors that is up to in that jurisdiction, but that's what he's looking at. And then Brooks Houck and Lawson will be back in court on August 21st, later this month, again, for the murder and disappearance of this beautiful woman, Crystal Rogers. Houck is looking at life, and Lawson is looking at 25 years. Again, recommendations from the jury. So that will take place on Wednesday. Also on Wednesday, thank you so much, Georgia OKC, for that kind gift. Jasveen Sangha. May not have heard this name. For some reason, this case did not get a bunch of coverage, which is surprising to me because it seems to have all of the elements of what would be a case that would be kind of highly covered. But she is the quote unquote ketamine queen. This is, of course, in connection to the tragic death of actor Matthew Perry. He lost his life from an overdose of ketamine. And there have now been several people who've pled guilty. And Jasveen, the ketamine queen, is the last person standing. And she is intending on going to trial, it looks like. Just last month, Dr. Salvador Plasencia pled guilty in connection to this case. He was the fourth person to plead guilty. And one of the highlights from his involvement is that he apparently texted another individual who pled guilty in this case saying, "I wonder how much this moron will pay." That was the moron he's speaking of is of course, actor Matthew Perry. So it was all about profit. It was all about just trying to take this poor man who's struggled with substance abuse his entire life and is very wealthy and trying to get as much money out of him as possible with zero regard to his safety. And he ended up dying. And so Jasveen has her final pretrial conference coming up this Wednesday. She's looking at decades in prison, by the way. I think the reason why this has not been covered all that much is it is, again, in federal court, so they don't have cameras in court. I don't know. I don't know why. To me, it's very tragic. It's also very interesting in that they're charging doctors and, you know, they're not exactly charging them with, in other words, their possession of the ketamine was not illegal. They were procuring ketamine through legal means, but they were prescribing it illegally. In other words, this isn't like a fentanyl death where they pursued people for fentanyl deaths. This is an industry, you know, you can go out and get a ketamine prescription. This is something that people are using for therapeutic reasons. It's become kind of en vogue, and was kind of in the middle of all of that. And they're pursuing her because of this kind of disregard for human life in this case. Really interesting case. Involves a celebrity. Not a lot of people talking about it, but she will be in court on Wednesday as well. Therapists, you know, thank you so much for the gift. Thank you so much also for all your help as a mod on this channel. And to Kay Schmidt, thank you for gifting the memberships as well. I love the gifts of memberships because it spreads the love. And by the way, to the new members who are winning these, being awarded these, however this works, being sprinkled the new memberships on top of you, check out all the membership benefits we have. We really try. Kaylin and Tiffany work overtime trying to make the membership program here something you guys are really going to enjoy. We do monthly members only stuff and weekly members only stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Pentufel says they mess with Keith Morrison's stepson. What are we talking about? What did I miss? Uh-oh, somebody's got to clue me in to what this is about. I see people furiously typing. That's his stepson? Matthew Perry is Keith Morrison's stepson? How did I not know that? Very interesting. Huh, I did not know that. Fan of both of them. Yeah, you don't mess with Keith Morrison, basically the godfather of true crime. You don't mess with him. Maureen says, yep. So confirmed by Maureen. Wow, I did not know that. Beautiful, messy ball. Well, there you go. I'm learning new stuff too. How did Josh not know that? Says Kathy with 30 different question marks for like 30 years. I don't know, guys. I don't know how I don't know this stuff. I got my brain too full of random legal facts and princess knowledge. I know a lot about Disney princesses nowadays, way more than I thought I'd ever know. So maybe that's what happened. At one point, I probably did know that he was his stepson. And then I forgot that when I watched Moana Part 2. All that information left my head. All right. Also in court this week, Larry Millete. This is a case, another case, missing person case. It's out of the Southern California area. Larry Millete's wife has been missing for 4 years. Her name was Maya Millete. This is out of Chula Vista, California. He's now on trial for her murder. The most recent thing why they're going to be in court this Thursday is that his defense is asking to have the trial moved because they feel that the Chula Vista area, too many people are talking about it, and that they can't get a fair trial. We've heard this. This seems to be the motion du jour nowadays with defense attorneys. But recently, the prosecution revealed some information on this. One, they now say they have surveillance audio indicating loud noises at the time that they believe she was killed in the area of their home, where they believe they can place him as well. They won't say whether those loud noises are gunshots or not. But this case was, if you remember, interesting because part of the evidence that the prosecution plans on presenting in court are spellcasters. He had apparently paid for and sent messages to spellcasters trying to influence her to stop her interest in divorcing him. And that the reason why that's interesting is it shows a motive to try to control her, one, but also apparently some of the suggestions that he made to these spellcasters was that she be involved in some sort of accident, perhaps even breaking her bones in an attempt to prevent her from divorcing him. So it turned towards the violent. And the prosecution is trying to say this shows an indication of his violent tendencies toward her. I imagine the defense is going to heavily try to litigate this. This would be very remarkable stuff if this were allowed in. And I'm trying to think of a way. I could see it from both sides that they would be allowed to do it because it is a party admission. It's a statement made by the defendant. Usually that kind of stuff goes in. I could also see the defense arguing that it's incredibly prejudicial because jurors may read more into it, but it's something you don't see all that often. Yes, spellcasters. Apparently there's an industry out there where you can pay someone to cast spells on someone else. Also, part of the Courtroom Confidential membership benefits. So if you join our membership program, I will cast spells on your behalf. If you just tell me who you're looking to get, and I will do my best. They will be back in court on Thursday for a motion regarding whether or not they're going to change venue. Donna Adelson, somebody that you all are well aware of, she's going to be back in court on Friday for her final pretrial conference. I'm about to tell you guys something that's not going to make you happy, but I hope that I am wrong. The last time they were in court, the defense is still asking for discovery. They say that they have not been provided with the raw, unredacted data from Donna's phone. The prosecution said last they were in court that they did not do a full extraction of her phone. By the way, just so that you guys understand and not to get on too much of a tangent on this, but the prosecution has to make the evidence available to the defense, but they don't necessarily have to do the work of the defense. And I think that's what this will come down to here. They have her phone. If the defense wanted it to do their own analysis and get their own extraction and their own raw data, have at it. Go hire an expert, go have them do it. Just because the prosecution is in possession of it doesn't mean they have to do the defense's bidding, okay? Same goes for other types of things. If the prosecution has physical evidence and the defense wants that tested for DNA or fingerprints, they can't sit around and say, we've never received the DNA results from the hammer that was recovered from the crime scene. The prosecution can say, we never tested it. Now, you cannot then compel the prosecution to go out and test it. The evidence is the hammer. If you want to have it tested, defense, go out and test it. Well, here, the defense is saying, you have the phone. We want the phone, the raw data from the phone. Prosecution is saying, we haven't done that. Here's where the problem exists, and here's where I hope I am wrong on this. I feel like this might be a big enough issue for the judge to give them more time. if the judge feels that it was incumbent upon the prosecution to have, as part of their extraction, done a quote unquote full extraction so that they have the raw data and they didn't turn that over, that could be a problem. And he could say, well, you need to give them the time to do that. It could also be a problem if he says, well, I do believe that you should be able to get that raw data. I'm going to allow you to get the testing done. That could be another reason to delay this. I hope I am wrong. I hope that the judge goes, sorry, too late. You haven't identified a good reason for it. You've had the possession. You've had access to the phone for as long as you wanted. You can't wait till the very end to say you want to have further testing done. The prosecution doesn't have to do everything that you want them to do. Here's the thing. The prosecution has to make the evidence available. They don't have to do the testing for the defense, but they also don't get to decide for the defense what's important to them or not. And so it would be one thing if they were saying, here's the extraction that we've done, and we've then destroyed the phone because it was no longer important to us. But because they did the extraction that they did, turn that over, that has been turned over, but did not turn over the raw data. That is not the prosecution necessarily deciding for the defense what's important to them or not. It's on the defense. Oh, wow. I just got a news flash from our insider information here. Vesper Martini, at TSU's, per attorney Tim Jansen. I would love to know where this was reported. Who are we scooping on this? Apparently, she was offered a plea deal if she turned in Wendy for time served. She said no. Oh, apparently they were on STS just before they came on here. I love that. You know, I don't know where to weigh in on this because I haven't heard it straight from his mouth, and I would love to ask him some questions. Here's my gut reaction on all of this. One, I feel that offering time served is, I just can't believe that. I don't believe that they would offer her time served. I do believe that they would offer her some sort of deal in exchange for her. If you're trying to get me to watch this now, I'm not going to be able to watch it. If you have the clip, should we play? You want to play it? Do you feel like you could cue it up? All right. I guess the only people who could sue us here would be Joel. So don't sue us, Joel. This is coming from Surviving the Survivor from apparently earlier tonight. How long is it? Do we know? 3 minutes. 30 seconds. Oh, it's seconds long. Okay. Well, I'll give Kaylin time to cue it up, and I'll give you my thoughts while she's trying to get it queued up. Oh, here it is.
I wanted to break this. This is something I just heard from a very good source. Donna was offered a plea deal of time served if she gave up Wendy.
Whoa.
And she turned it down. And this is inside the courthouse. She was offered, someone said, maybe give her a deal. They said, no. She was offered time served if she would give Wendy, because of her age. She turned it down.
Unreal. You guys are here.
You're hearing it there first, and you're hearing it here second. Just as good. Wow. If that's true, that's incredible stuff. I want to hear more on it. Not that I'm doubting at all the source. I'm not doubting Tim Jansen at all. I know that he is boots on the ground, been following this. He's saying he's got a good source. I'm just shocked. I'm shocked I'm shocked by a couple of things. I'm shocked at a time served offer. I'm shocked that that offer is being made this late in the game. Why put all this work into it? Why fight? Why get everything all ready to go to trial if you're going to make an offer to try to get Wendy to begin with? The other thing we learned from this, if it's true, is they really do believe Wendy's involved, but they don't have enough. If they're making offers like this for time served for somebody that they believe was involved in and orchestrated a crime, a murder, they're willing to give that person time served, it means they really want Wendy and they really don't have enough to get Wendy. If Full Throated Motion says if they offered it time served, do they really think Wendy is the mastermind? I don't know if they have enough on her to charge her. Maybe they really want Wendy. I think if this is all true, just going off of the assumption this is all true, it shows you how important Wendy is to them. It shows you how they don't have enough on Wendy. And also, it's shocking to me that it's coming this late in the game. And also, it's shocking to me that they would actually make a time served offer, because she's looking at life in prison. You don't go from life in prison to time served to try to get someone else unless you really feel like this person's not going to live all that long anyways, and it's far more important to you to get Wendy, and you just, after all these years, what are we, like 10 years later, and everybody who's gone down, that they still don't have Wendy. But for everybody who's wondering, do they believe Wendy is involved? There you go. They certainly have enough to be making that kind of an offer to Donna, if true. Crazy stuff. Thank you guys for updating us on all of that. Thank you, Kaylin, for throwing together that clip really quickly. Corey A. First Mate May, thank you so much, says, good afternoon, Mr. Ritter. Please give a monster shout out with love to my mom, Mimi, per our son's nickname for her. Many thanks, my friend. I love that. Big shout out with love to mom, Mimi. My grandmother, we called Mimi. I think basically because one of us couldn't say grandma, so we started calling her Mimi. That's very cute. All right, one more case to update you on that's happening this week, and then I'm going to get you guys out of here. That is the Aaron Spencer case. This is a case I feel like we're going to be digging deep into, because this is a case, the more I learn about it, the more it bothers me. Aaron Spencer, this took place actually in October of 2024. Why are we talking about it now? Because a gag order was recently lifted on the case. Story goes, Aaron Spencer has a 14-year-old daughter. Love that picture of him. Just a man on his farm with his turkeys. Has a 14-year-old daughter who had been abused by a 67-year-old man named Michael Fossler. He had 43 charges pending against him. He's a predator. Middle of the night, 1 a.m. in the morning. This is the stuff that I had not learned until recently. Aaron hears his dog barking. He goes into the room of his 14-year-old daughter and finds her missing in the middle of the night. I'm going to tell you guys right now. If I'm woken up in the middle of the night and one of my beautiful girls is missing, call a bail agent. I'm grabbing a gun, and really ugly stuff's about to happen if I am able to find who took that girl from my home in the middle of the night. He calls 911. He does the right thing. If you want to call this vigilantism, you don't start off your vigilantism by involving the police. He calls 911. But in waiting for them, he gets in his car and decides he's going to look for the prime suspect, Michael Fossler, and knows what his car looks like. Finds his car, rams, apparently according to the affidavit I just recently read, rams his car to the point of pulling it over, demands that Fossler get out. His 14-year-old daughter is sitting there in the car, and he demands that the man get out. And as the girl is trying to get out, Fossler goes to grab her. Then apparently Fossler says something to Spencer, go F yourself, whatever it is, and starts to go towards him, and Spencer unloads his gun. This man, in my book, deserves awards, accolades, and his own special day and a key to the city. The fact that they've charged him with second-degree murder is appalling to me. I understand the idea and the concept of vigilantism and wanting to discourage that, and wanting that the law is the law and it applies to everyone. It doesn't just pick or choose the victims. I get all of that. The facts of this don't line up, though. Putting aside our outrageous indignation with the fact that they're charging this man, the facts don't line up. Even if you're not talking about a child molester and the father of the child, you're talking about a man who's trying to protect a 14-year-old who's been kidnapped, who the kidnapper is not letting her go, and then the kidnapper charges him and tells him to go F himself. That's self-defense. I don't care what has happened. I don't care about the history before any of it. That's still self-defense. So even from a legal basis, I don't understand why they're bringing these charges. And I think they knew. I think they knew the public outrage to all of this, because that's why they had asked for the gag order in the first place. And applause to the state Supreme Court in that state for lifting that gag order, so that we're all learning about it now. That will again be back in court for a final. Let me see what this is back in court for. It's back in court on Friday for another pretrial conference, and trial is expected on that case in September. I just hope this thing ends some way short of trial. There's no way this man should be put on trial. If he goes to trial, I can't imagine a jury ever convicting this man. You put one, I don't care, father, mother, whoever on that, they're going to have to kick off every person who has children from that jury, because I cannot imagine. And I don't care if you have kids or not. Everybody gets it. But I can't imagine sitting on that jury as a father of 3 beautiful little girls and not interrupting opening statements to say, what are we doing here? So that case is coming back on Friday. Anyhow, there's my rant and updates for the week. We had a special appearance by Surviving the Survivor, though they didn't know about it. So if you're next on their channel, tell them thank you. And please don't sue us that we just stole their stuff. Usually I would text them and be like, I'm going to use this clip, but I didn't. We just put it up there. We're grateful to them for being so kind. All right, let's do some announcements and get you guys out of here. Are we talking about CrimeCon? No. Oh, yeah, we got CrimeCon. CrimeCon's coming up. It's in a month. We are preparing for it. Tiffany was sweating bullets earlier today, trying to get all of our stuff together. We're trying to figure out, signage and giveaways and all that fun stuff. And we're going to CrimeCon, and we told CrimeCon that if we're going, we want you to give something to our followers to give them a little incentive. So they did. They gave us a discount code. If you put courtroom, all in caps, all one word, while you check out, you will get 10% off. Heidi says that she's excited to go, and we're excited to see you, Heidi. Beautiful Messy Ball says that you have your tickets and your room and you're booked and ready to go. I hope you come by and say hi to us, and we're going to give you something, beads, a sticker, a pin. I don't know. We're trying to figure that all out. So that is coming up September 5th through 7th. Like I said, it is 1 month from tomorrow. It's coming up quick. What you missed this weekend. On Saturday, we had our weekly roundup where we talked about James Craig, and we talked about the Allie Honor killing case, and we talked about Shanna Gardner and Brandon Banfield. A lot of different cases. Please check that out if you haven't already. It's already up on the channel. On Sunday, we had Sunday Funday. Such a great group. Such a great bunch of questions. A great group of people showed up. Please don't miss out this next Sunday. But if you missed this last Sunday, please check it out. Rewatch it. You'll really enjoy it. And then Wednesday, we have a guest that I know you guys are going to love. We have Gisela from Grizzly True Crime is going to be coming on. We're going to be talking about, amongst other things, what I love about Gisela is if you want a deep dive into a case, there's no one better than her. We don't do a whole bunch of deep dives on this channel. We do them where we can, but she is the queen of the deep dives. And I already see the bears popping up in the chat. She will be on. We're going to be talking about the Kevin Ellis case. This is a case where Kevin, along with his sister Catherine Rastelli and her mother Tracy Grist, murdered Catherine's husband, Matthew Rastelli. So a lot of twists and turns in that case, and Gisela is going to break it all down for us this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys. Go to our website, thecourtroomconfidential.com. You can find out about membership. A bunch of you already joined tonight. Check it out. You can leave us a message for Sunday Fun Day. You can follow us on all these Facebook and X and Instagram. You can find out about what's the most important thing we're going to discuss this evening. All of our merch. Therapists, you know, thank you for the gift of membership. What is the color of this shirt this evening, everybody? Kaylin, if you say chalk mint one more time. Sky blue, chalky mint, says Kaylin. Sky blue says, it is chalky mint? Oh, finally. This is the chalky mint we've been looking forward for all this time. Well, this is chalky mint. You can also find that on our website at thecourtroomconfidential.com. Thank you to all the mods, Afton and Shy Gal, Sonia and Kathy, and therapists. You know, you are all fantastic and help this thing run. And thank you so much to Kaylin and Tiffany working tirelessly in the background. Thank you all so much for spending a Monday night with us. And we will see you all Wednesday right back here, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Take care, everybody.